Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fruit and Vegetable Processing. So, for today, we are going to discuss a new topic, and this is all about enzymes in fruits and vegetables. So, first, we are going to define what is enzymes as well as the important properties of enzymes. After that, we are going to discuss what is enzyme activity as well as the different factors which affects enzyme activity. Then we will tackle the different sources of enzymes as well as the effect of enzymes in fruits and vegetables. And lastly, we are going to discuss what is enzymatic browning and the different methods on how to control enzymatic browning. So what are enzymes? So enzymes, they are special proteins which can be found in living cells of plants, animals, and different microorganisms. So enzymes are present naturally in fruits and in vegetables. While enzymes are produced by different living organisms, they are not living substances. So enzymes is responsible for different chemical reactions, either by promoting chemical changes or controlling chemical activities in your fruits and vegetables. So are relatively known as your catalyst. Okay, so enzymes function as speeding up the breakdown or synthesis of different organic compounds such as your carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So enzymes, they are normally compartmentalized in plant tissues of your plants. Okay, so plant substances normally consist of two types of enzymes. We have here the hydrolytic enzymes and oxidoreductases. So enzymes are not always beneficial because they can also cause some deleterious effects or some effects that can cause food damages to your fruits and vegetables. So what are the negative effects of enzymes is that they cause various undesirable color, flavor, as well as they can affect the changes in the texture of your fruits and vegetables. Since enzyme cause various negative effects in your fruits and vegetables, it is important that um, an activation of enzymes must be done to prevent discoloration or browning and to prevent different development of unpleasant taste as well as development of unpleasant aroma during the storage of your fruits and vegetables. So the interactions between the enzymes causes different changes in the flavor, color, as well as the texture of your fruits and vegetables. So we have here the different compositions or components of your enzymes. Okay, so some enzymes they require non-protein molecules, and we call this non-protein molecules as your cofactors. So these non-protein enzymes, they can be either organic or inorganic. Okay, so organic cofactors can be your coenzymes. So coenzymes here, they act as transient carriers of specific functional groups or prosthetic groups of molecules. So coenzymes are tightly or covalently bound to your to an enzyme. Okay, so the protein part of an enzyme is what we call the apoenzyme. Okay, well, an enzyme together with the required cofactors for activity is called your haloenzyme. Okay, so we have here your non-protein um, part of enzyme, which is the cofactor, and we have here the protein part of the enzyme, which is your apoenzyme. So together with the non-protein and protein part of enzyme, we have here your halo enzyme. So another composition of your enzyme is the catalytic site or the catalytic activity site. So this is where the enzymes together with the substrate will form a complex to produce different products. So again, some enzymes they require non-protein molecules, and we call them your cofactors. Again, so your cofactors again can either be inorganic or organic, and those organic cofactors we call them as your coenzymes. Okay, and we also have here your apoenzyme, which is again the protein part of enzyme, together with the non-protein molecules as well as the protein part of enzyme. So we call that part of the enzyme as your halo enzyme. So we have here the different enzymes which are of interest in food chemistry as well as interest in your fruits and vegetables. So we have here five classes of enzymes. So the first class is your oxidoreductases. Okay. So we have here under this group we have your alcohol dehydrogenase, your glucose oxidase, as well as your lipoxygenase. Okay, so the second main class of enzyme is your transferases. Under transferases, we have here transglutaminase. So transglutaminase is particularly used in the food industry, in the meat processing, manufacturing industry. Okay, so we also have here another example or part of your transferases, which is hexokinase. Okay, and the third main class of enzymes is hydrolases. Okay, so we have here your alpha amylase as well as your papain, your bromelain, as well as chymosin. Okay, so that belongs to your hydrolases enzymes. And fourth main class of your enzyme is the lyases. So for the lyases, we have here your pectin lyase, okay? And the last enzyme that is of main interest in food chemistry is your isomerases. So we have here different hydrolytic enzymes. So enzyme categories like your hydrolases, amylase, cellulase, chlorophyllase, invertase, lipase, tannase. Okay, so these are all your hydrolytic enzymes that are of importance to your fruit and vegetable processing. So another type of enzyme that is important in your fruit and vegetable processing is your oxidoreductases. So part example of your reductases, we have here your ascorbinase, your catalase, POD or peroxidase, and we have your polyphenol oxidase and tyronase. So these enzymes here are the different enzymes that are important in your fruit and vegetable processing. So now we will discuss the different properties of enzyme, beginning with the optimum temperature of enzyme. So the optimum temperature of enzyme is around 50 degrees Celsius. So this is the temperature in which the enzyme activity of your enzyme is at the highest. So 50 degrees Celsius is where enzymes exhibit maximum activity. So apart from the optimal or the temperature requirement of your enzymes, pH as well as water activity and the use of different chemicals are also useful in controlling different enzyme activities in your fruits and vegetables. So again, the optimal temperature for the maximum activity of your enzyme is around 50 degrees Celsius. So other properties that are also important or affects the activity of your enzyme is your pH, water activity, and the use of different chemicals. So later on in the next slide, we will discuss the different factors which affect the enzyme activity. So again, your enzyme, they can be present in living fruits as well as in vegetables. And this enzyme controls the different reactions which are associated with your ripening process. So enzymes continue the ripening process even after harvest, especially for your climacteric commodities. Okay? And if it is not controlled or destroyed by any means, your enzyme may even lead to different negative effects to your fruits and vegetables. As thus, these different effects can lead to microbial spoilage in your ripened fruit and vegetable. So again, as mentioned earlier, enzymes can cause various deleterious effects as well as um, in addition to the formation of spoilage in your fruits and vegetable after ripening or due to over ripening, enzymes can also cause various changes in the color of your fruits and commodities, as well as the flavor, textural properties, and the nutritional changes in your fruits and vegetables. So this is because these enzymes are involved in a number of biochemical reactions in your fruits and vegetables. So it is important that you apply different methods before you dry your fruits and vegetable. And then one method to control the enzyme activity in your fruits and vegetable is through application of blanching. So blanching is very important pre-processing operation that is normally done not only to kill the microorganisms present in the surface of your fruits and vegetables, but blanching also inactivate the enzyme present in your commodity. That is why your fruit and vegetables will have increased shelf life after blanching. Okay, so again, blanching is the process when you soak the fruits and vegetables normally at 60 to 80 degrees Celsius, and after soaking for a couple of minutes, you will transfer your fruits and vegetables in uh, cold water or running water. Okay, so again, blanching will kill the surface microorganism as well as to inactivate the different enzymes in your fruits and vegetables, which can have affect the different chemical reactions in your fruit and vegetables. So we have here the different enzymes which affects the flavor as well as the color and texture of fresh cut vegetables. So we have here lipoxygenase, which belongs to your oxidoreductases class, as well as we have here your peroxidase or POD and polyphenol oxidase or PPO and your pectolytic enzymes. So these enzymes are very important in uh, fruits and vegetables because they are the one causing the different negative effects in the flavor of your fruits and vegetables, as well as they affect the color and texture of your fresh cut vegetables. So the first enzyme that is important in your fruit and vegetable is your lipoxygenase. So lipoxygenase catalyzes or speed up the oxidation of your polyunsaturated fatty acids or PUFA in your fruits and vegetables with the presence of oxygen. So when your LOX catalyzes the oxidation of your PUFA with the presence of oxygen, so this will affect or produce the formation of different volatile aldehydes, having your 6 carbon and 6 9 volatile aldehydes, which will produce the different off notes or off flavors. So again, when lipoxygenase catalyzes PUFA, it will lead to the formation of different and unpleasant volatile aldehydes, having your grassy and green flavor notes. Okay, so that your lipoxygenase will only catalyzes the oxidation of your POFA if there is the presence of your oxygen acting on it. Okay, so lipoxygenase is very notable in your cucumber, especially when you slice the cucumber, okay, as well as tomato, broccoli, and various green leafy vegetables. Okay, again, your lipoxygenase together with the presence of your oxygen, this will catalyze or speed up the oxidation of your different polyunsaturated fatty acid present in your fruits and vegetables. So another important enzyme in your fruit and vegetables is your peroxidase. So peroxidase, this is widely distributed in different vegetables, and it is believed to cause different flavor changes due to the empirical relationship between your residual uh, peroxidase activity and of flavors. So it is the enzyme peroxidase which also causes different browning effects in your fruit and vegetables due to its affinity to accept a wide range of your hydrogen donors such as your phenolic compounds. So the most common enzyme that causes browning in vegetables, such as your banana and in your lettuce, is the enzyme. We have here your enzyme called your polyphenol oxidase. Again, with the presence of oxygen, polyphenol oxidase will oxidize the polyphenols present in the vegetables to quinones. Okay, so your polyphenol oxidase, together with the presence of oxygen, it will catalyze the reaction between the conversion of your monophenol, which has colorless color, to diphenol, and then to orthoquinone, which is again colorless, to the formation of your brown pigments or the formation of your melanin. Okay, so the presence of brown color in your fruits and vegetables, this is what you call your melanin. And again, this is present in your fruit and vegetable, especially when you cut the fruits and vegetable or you expose the fruits and vegetables in a longer period, especially when you don't apply modified atmospheric packaging or when you don't store your fruits and vegetables. So basically, polyphenol oxidase your uh, will act on the different polyphenols in your fruit and vegetables. So your PTO will oxidize again your polyphenols to quinones and then leading to the formation of your melanin. So it is melanin again, which you can observe the browning in your fruits and vegetables. So apart from polyphenol oxidase, another important enzyme for your fruits and vegetables is your pectolytic enzymes. So your PEs consist of your polygalacturonase, lyases, and your pectinase. Okay, pectines, pectins, terase. Okay, so together these enzymes are responsible for the breakdown of proteins, resulting to the softening of the tissues of the fruit and vegetables. So when PEs break down the pectins in fruits and vegetables, so basically it will result to the softening and loss of firmness in your fruits and vegetables. Again, your PEs, the different pectolytic enzymes, they are responsible for the breakdown of pectins, resulting in the softening of tissues as well as the loss of firmness in your fruits and vegetables. Okay? So when fruits and vegetables are basically matured, so the pectin level is still very high in your matured vegetable, and the texture of your commodities when they are still matured is very hard. Okay, so the enzyme pectinase or other pectolytic enzymes will break down these pectins so that um, upon the transitioning of your commodity from matured to ripening stage, the texture of your commodities, such as here as your tomato, will be soft, okay, or firm when they are ripened, okay. So again, the responsible enzyme for the changes in the softening of the tissues of your fruits and vegetables during the ripening stage is your pectolytic enzymes. Okay, so I have here another figure to you showing the different important enzyme that is uh, responsible for the different changes in your fruit and vegetable. So we have mentioned POD. Okay. So peroxidase again, uh, it can act on different substrates like phenols and ascorbic acid, resulting in oxidized substrate and your water. So again, peroxidase will uh, cause uh, browning in your fruits and vegetables together with your polyphenol oxidase. Okay, so we have here coconut. What are the different off notes that can be developed in your coconut due to the presence of various enzyme? Okay, so again, with the presence of various enzyme, um, coconut can develop off flavors during storage due to the enzyme lipoxygenase as well as your hydroperoxide lyase. Okay, so these two enzymes are responsible for the development of off flavors or as well as off aromas in coconuts during storage. Okay, so we also have here different enzyme responsible for the browning as well as yes um, browning and different chilling injuries in your apple commodity. So again, Just like your peroxidase, your polyphenol oxidase will catalyze the polyphenol present in the fruits and vegetables. To, it will catalyze again with the presence of your oxygen. So polyphenol will be oxidized to orthoquinone, and then your orthoquinone will be further be converted to your melanin. Okay, so the enzyme polyphenol oxidase is responsible for the formation of your brown or melanins in your fruits and vegetable with the presence of oxygen. Okay, so another important enzyme we have here your phenylalanine ammonia lyase. So this enzyme in particular is responsible uh, um, it is an indication of the chilling injury in your commodity. Okay, so we have here an orange juice or an apple juice. So another important enzyme for this one is your polygalactorinase and your pectin methyl esterase. Okay, so after discussing the different important properties of your enzymes. Now we will discuss what is an enzyme activity. Okay. Again, enzymes they act as an biological catalyst, which require an optimal reaction conditions for their activity, and this different optimal conditions varies with each enzyme. Okay. So we have here the optimal conditions for the enzyme activity. Okay, a source of the enzyme from where it is obtained is important for in important condition for your enzyme activity. What else? We also have here another optimal condition for enzyme activity is that the part or the location of the source where the enzyme functions and the different environmental conditions of the source where it survives. Okay, so these optimal conditions again are important for the enzyme activity to develop or to occur. Okay, so enzyme activity follows the lock and key principle. So for those who are already finished with the food chemistry, I believe you are very familiar with the lock and key principle. So the lock and key principle, it states that the enzymes have a specific shape that directly correlates to the shape of a substrate. So again, substrate, it is a molecule that an enzyme reacts with. So substrate can either be protein or fat, okay? So again, the lock and key principle states that your enzyme, so this is your enzyme, so this is enzyme. Again, it has various shape, and that and we have here the active site of your enzyme. Again, the substrate such as the protein can enter the active site of your enzyme, okay? And when protein as a substrate will enter the active site of your enzyme, basically the enzyme will accommodate the shape or change the shape of or change the shape of the enzyme to accommodate the substrate as it binds to it. So uh, when the enzymes change its shape, so basically your enzyme and substrate can have a complex. Okay. So after your enzyme substrate complex, it will be converted the enzyme will produce different biochemical reaction in which product will be produced in your from your enzyme substrate complex. Okay, so the substrate again will be locked in the enzyme, particularly in the active site of your enzyme, and then the enzyme will will change its shape for the substrate to be locked in the enzyme. Okay, so again, when the enzyme and substrate forms a complex, the enzyme will then develop different products, okay, due to the reaction of your enzyme and then your substrate. So this is basically the lock and key principle based on or according to the famous scientist Emil Fischer. Okay, so we have here just an example of your lock and key principle. We have here um, the conversion of your lactose molecules to two sugar molecules of your glucose and galactose. So the conversion of your lactose to glucose and galactose is due to your enzyme lactase. So enzyme lactase, which is an enzyme produced by many microorganisms, is essential for the digestion of whole milk in our body. So lactase here catalyzes or breaks down the sugar lactose to component parts such as your glucose and galactose. So again, the lactase enzyme can be found in intestines of humans as well as mammals. Okay, so this enzyme lactase is again important or essential for the digestion of your whole milk. Okay, so we have here the different factors affecting the enzyme activity. So on the first part of our discussion, we have mentioned the optimal temperature of your enzyme activity is 50 degrees Celsius. Okay, so again, um, the most important factor which affects enzyme activity is temperature. So enzyme activity increases with an increase in temperature. However, enzymes will become unstable once the temperature reaches beyond 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. So that is why I have mentioned earlier that again the optimal temperature that is required for the maximum activity of enzyme is 50 degrees Celsius. Again, beyond that, the rate of reaction for your enzyme will be reduced or will be unstable. Okay, so again, we have here the graph showing to you the enzyme activity or rate of reaction for your enzyme in okay in in due to your temperature. Okay, so as the temperature increases, the rate of reaction also increases. Okay, so the activity of your enzyme also increases. But when the temperature of your enzyme, but when the external environment, especially temperature of your enzyme, will reach its peak or maximum activity, then the rate of reaction here is very high during the peak of your enzyme activity. But when you further increase the temperature, okay, of your environment, basically, the rate of reaction will decline, okay? So again, temperature is an important factor for enzymatic activity. So again, denaturation will occur when the enzyme activity will be reduced or when the temperature is reduced. Okay. So another factor which affects enzyme activity is your pH. So each enzyme has an optimal pH for its maximum activity. So just like temperature, pH also has an important factor. Again, each enzyme requires an optimal pH for the activity of your enzyme. So the optimal pH for lipoxygenase in soybean is between pH 7 to 9. Okay, so this pH is again alkaline. So basically, when soybean is um, within the pH range of 7 to 9 or alkaline, basically will your enzyme lipoxygenase will create different products in your soybean. So another optimal pH for your enzyme is for your tomatoes, in which at pH 4, so slightly acidic, your the enzyme polygalacturonase will be activated. Again, so your enzyme has an optimal pH for their maximum activity. So another factor which affects enzyme activity is water activity. So some moisture content it is required for enzyme activity to mobilize and solubilize the reactants. Again, water activity is the free water in your commodities, okay, which are responsible for or contributes to the presence of microbial growth in your commodity. So again, enzymes they require some moisture because it will basically help them to move freely within the um, within the substrate. Okay, so um, within their reaction. Okay, so enzyme activity increases with increased water activity. So again, water or moisture is very important for your enzyme because enzyme will mobilize or move freely when there is available moisture or water content. Okay, so for example, your phospholipase it has low activity on lecithin at water activity below 0.35. So 0.35 water activity, that is basically um, your enzyme phospholipase will show no activity. Okay, higher than that pH or higher than that water activity, the enzyme phospholipase uh, have will break down different organic substances in your fruits and vegetables. So another factor which affects the enzyme activity in addition to temperature, pH, as well as water activity is your enzyme concentration. So we have here a table showing the rate of reaction of enzyme in okay in um, with your enzyme concentration. So as the enzyme concentration increases in the commodity, basically the rate of reaction of enzyme will also increases. Okay, so we also have here another factor which affects enzyme activity is your substrate concentration. So increasing substrate concentration will also increase the rate of reaction with your enzyme. However, there is just a point for the concentration of your substrate where all enzymes are used, and basically steady state, your enzyme will basically have a steady state when all substrate are fully consumed. Okay, so what are the factors affecting the enzyme activity? So the most important one is your temperature, and then pH, in which different enzymes have their optimal activity, specific optimal activity depending on the specific pH. So again, we also have another important factor is the water activity, as well as the enzyme concentration and the substrate concentration. So the higher the enzyme and substrate concentration, so the higher as well as the rate of reaction of your enzyme. So again, I have just a summary here of the different factors which affects the enzyme activity. Again, the biggest factor that has influence to your enzyme activity is temperature. We have here pH, enzyme concentration, and enzyme substrate.